good evening, and thank you for tuning in to another week with Fathers Who Care.
Yes.
And listen, it's been a blessed week. I mean, we haven't seen you all in a little bit. You know, you all was enjoying your all's holidays and festivities last week, and I hope all is well. But let's get back to business. And you know what we do here at Fathers Who Care. We try to bring to you, the viewing audience, individuals who have been seasoned, vetted, and who are truly committed to the plight of social justice and community empowerment. And you know, I've always, in the past, I wouldn't even start a show here at CAN TV. And by the way, I want to thank the young people out there for following me and always supporting me. And thank you to CAN TV for the opportunity. But I normally wouldn't even start a show on CAN TV without bringing in my spiritual advisor, my spiritual leader, and of course my shepherd and pastor. And that's normally how we would start the show. And so I'm getting back to the basics.
Yes,
Doc.
Yes.
And so getting back to the basics is staying grounded. And so I called on my shepherd and I asked him, come on in and let's bring the spirit back into what we're doing. And we was wanting to talk to those of you who don't know, particularly about what's going on in the atmosphere, in the city, in the state, about what we're doing out here, what we can do, and how we can engage each other and empower each other moving forward. But making a change, being the change agent in our community. So some of you may know my pastor here, Reverend Dr. Marshall Elijah Hatch. And for those who don't, I'm going to introduce you to him, and he's going to have an opportunity to talk to you. Of course, he's the senior pastor of New Mount Pilgrim Church, the co-chairman of the Leaders Network, and the former chairman of Chicago State Board of Directors, and now on the board of Chicago State's directors, and so much stuff going on over there, and an international leader. So those of you who know Dr. Hatch know that he's seasoned, he's well vetted, and he loves the people. Amen. He loves the community, and he's committed. And I learned so much, in all honesty, from my dear brother. We go way back. Come out to Shallow Missionary Baptist Church.
Right. Back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day. And we're still serving. We're still laboring. And so with that being said, I don't want to take too much time with a lot of logistics because I got a lot of questions I want to talk to Pastor Hatch about tonight. And specifically, I want to talk to him about the state of Illinois, the state of the city of Chicago, and West Garfield Park. He and I share a similar interest. Our churches in West Garfield Park, a lot of ministries in Chicago, West Garfield Park, programs in West Garfield Park, and we believe that we have a serious village entitled the Pilgrim Village in West Garfield Park. And we invite you all to come on out when you can and check out our beautiful edifice. You're going to be delighted to see a lot of things on display in our sanctuary, particularly the Sankofa mural, the glass stained windows, and the Ma'afa. You're just going to be amazed. So come on out when you get a chance. So with that being said, let's get down to business, Doc.
Yes, sir.
And thank you so much, Doc,
Glad
for coming
to be
out.
here. Absolutely.
And
appreciate the work of Reverend Jones.
Likewise,
Yeah.
Doc. And I've been watching a lot of the things that's been going on around the state and the city today, and I've been kind of perplexed about some things. You know, I've been in prayer about some stuff because I'm seeing folks that just kind of, they're going underground again. All right? And things are just happening, all right? And folks don't have a consciousness about it no more. So, I mean, I'm thinking about some things, particularly about taxation. I'm thinking about the casinos. I'm thinking about the legalization, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And the taxes and the taxes and the taxes.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, when are they going to stop taxing indigent folks in the city of Chicago? And what can we do in the city of Chicago to empower each other and pool our resources? If we pool our resources, I think we can bring about a better community.
Yeah.
But with that being said, Doc, tell us who you are. Tell us what is your motivation for doing the work that you do, because you are a tireless warrior in the field. And you love what you do.
We've been working a long time.
You're committed to what you do. So why are you so steadfast, unmovable in this work that you do?
It's a calling. So, the short of my story is that I grew up on the west side, went away to college, and of course both of us grew up in Shiloh. My dad was the pastor.
Yeah.
And so I went away to college, went away to graduate school. And while in graduate school, I was at Georgetown and D.C. in '81. That's where I really accepted my call.
Okay.
And so that was 1981. And everything I'm doing now is what I came home to do.
Okay.
So it's a calling.
Okay, and you love what you're doing.
Love what you're doing. It's hard work. I mean, it's taxing, but it's very. I mean, it's a meaningful life. I
Yeah,
mean, everybody should really find their calling
Yeah,
in life.
yeah.
God gives all of us something to do, and just like you do, fathers who care, nobody does it better than you.
Well, thank you,
And
Doc.
we're very proud of the work that you do. I'm proud to be associated with you.
Likewise.
Yes.
And I thank you for any time I need advice, anytime I need assistance, anytime I need support, I know where to go. All right?
Yeah.
I can always go in the office, sit down with you, and just pour it out. All right?
Yeah.
And just kick you on the side when we're talking or we sitting up in the chair and you know, we have our conversation. So the Lord make a way, you know, and we get a chance to talk and do what we need to do. So I thank you for that ongoing leadership. And I thank you for being that beacon of light on the west side of Chicago. I mean, we in this day and age, we need folks who are true to the call.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not true to the dollar.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I believe that you are true to the call because you stay the course. And I know it's a lot going on because I know how I know Numa Pilgrim, my Alpha, all that stuff is every day.
Every day.
And we stay the course. So with that saying, Doc, let's get into some issues and some concerns.
Sure.
We want to talk specifically with you about how you feeling about the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago. What in your mind do you believe is the state of the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago?
You know, as Dr. King said, we have some difficult days ahead. I mean, the pension shortfall in the state and in the city is going to be a stranglehold long term on the finances. I think we had a feel good session recently in the state, but when we look at all of the taxes and the fees, and then the legalization of marijuana, you know, we've been trying to tell young people to not smoke and think about their future. And now we legalize it. What does that mean? And then also casinos, you know, which really has to produce a lot of losers in order to produce a winner or two, and then make a whole lot of money on the other end. You know, the morality of that is still something that could be debated. I mean, I would never gamble myself personally my money like that, but you know, the state needs money, and it's gonna need a lot of money, and the city's gonna need a lot of money. And so, you know, the taxpayers are going to have to really brace. It's going to be tough.
So, but do you believe that there's other ways of raising revenue than legalizing possibly, this is just my thought, legalizing marijuana, creating casinos? We know the casinos are not created to give money away.
Right.
They're created to take money.
Right. Yeah,
And
like the lottery.
Like the lottery.
Right.
Well, we said some things about the lottery too.
And we thought that was going to solve everything.
So, but where's it? I mean.
Well, you know, I'm gonna tell you what I in my heart of hearts, I think that we're funding pensions that really were so generous because they were taxpayer supported.
Okay, right.
And so you've had people who've worked. I mean, we say they earned it and therefore they're due those pensions. But structurally, you can't financially support what the state and the city has promised people. So I really have a problem with that. A lot of these pension obligations are going to folks who are, number one, they're not black, and they're in communities, and they're retiring at 50, and having some of them their checks forwarded to them in Florida. In the meantime, talking about how lazy black people are. I mean, the racial dimension of that is just very interesting. And so we can't seem to find the resources to invest in little brown and little black kids, which are really the future of the country,
Absolutely.
the majority of the public school system, because we're paying for people for work that they've already done. And so in effect,
and retiring early.
And then retiring early. And so when we invest in pensions and not in education, it means we're literally investing in the past and not the future. And I really have a problem with that because if you don't invest in the future, you won't have one.
Well, you heard it. So the thought tonight is, what do you believe is the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago, and what can we do in our communities of color? I say that communities of color to empower, engage, and enlighten each other. That's the thought. So we want to talk about what we can do collectively, not pointing fingers at someone else who not doing it, because I think it's our job. It's our job. You spoke specifically, or you brought up the topic of cannabis, legalizing marijuana. Well, they already legalized marijuana for municipal purposes, right?
Right.
So now it's legalized for adult recreational use. What's your thought?
In the state.
In the state.
Well, I'm really concerned about young people. I mean, not so much adults, because adults, we make choices. But, once something is legalized, once it's available, like alcohol, we have to try to figure out how to keep it out of the hands of young people who have not developed the ability to make good decisions yet. And so I'm very much concerned about the signals that we send and the ability to control, minors having access to something that, is really detrimental for them in the long run.
Well, Doc, let's hold a thought. And we got a caller. Caller, you in there. We have Reverend Dr. Marshall Hatch, the senior pastor of New Mount Pilgrim and the co-chairman of the Leader Network. What's your comment or question, please?
My comment is to my pastor, Pastor Hatch. Pastor Hatch, this Sister Jones, just calling,
Yes, ma'am.
letting you know that I enjoy listening to you always. I enjoy the knowledge that you always throw out there. I appreciate the fact that I have a pastor that does not just pastor in the church, but you find ways to find out everything that's going on so that you can share with your members and to anyone that's willing to listen about everything that's going on. And just the knowledge that you throw out to everyone is so powerful, and I just appreciate that about you, the fact that our pastor don't just preach in the church, but you outside of the church giving knowledge everywhere. So I thank you for that.
Yes,
So do you
ma'am.
have a
Thank
question
you.
this evening? We appreciate that comment. What's your question, though?
I didn't have a question. I just wanted to just commend my pastor.
Well, there you have it.
Thank you. Thank you, Sister Jones.
Those of you who are watching, the phones line are open. Call us here at 312-738-1060. Come on and give our pastor some encouragement. Call in, have some questions.
appreciate
We're
that.
talking about what we can do to empower each other. Go ahead,
Now let's
Doc.
talk about the fine line. I was at a meeting some years ago downtown, and we had some basically Europeans. I think they were from Portugal, and they talked about decriminalization of cannabis and drugs, because people who are have substance abuse problems are more sick than they are criminal. normally.
Absolutely, I agree.
So there is a step that was missed, I think, and that step was decriminalization. And that, which is not the same thing as legalization. It means that we recognize that people should not be locked up and the key thrown away, especially if they have substance abuse problems.
Absolutely.
But even if they use substances, but it does not necessarily mean it necessarily should be endorsed.
Okay.
Which is what legalization may connote to people. So,
Which it does.
which it does. It means it's good.
Which it does.
And
yeah.
of course, we know as people who are spiritual that everything that the state deems as good, as legal, doesn't mean it's good. Doesn't mean it's
Absolutely.
good for you.
Absolutely.
So, but I think that legalization then gives the state the capacity to tax it. And then ultimately, that probably is what carried the day.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reality.
They want the money.
Of course, that's because most folks, I believe, we already saw it in the lottery. We saw it in alcohol. So that's a taxation.
So what kind of test are we gonna give to people who are operating an automobile? So if if we have alcohol, we have a breathalyzer. Do we have a way of judging the way the substance cannabis influences people's ability to drive?
Okay.
And what are the limits before they're impaired? Has all that been worked out?
No, it
I haven't
hasn't.
seen any evidence that it has.
It hasn't, and according to House Bill 1438, which is the House bill that that was presented in Senate Bill 7, that's not in there. I mean, they did talk specifically about decriminalization of those who have been convicted of Class 4 felonies, which is the possession of marijuana up to 30 grams, which personally, that's not the case, because most of the folks who've been incarcerated got incarcerated for more than 30 grams. All right. It's less than that. It's like an ounce. All right. And so they're not going to get out, in my opinion.
And then
Right.
and that's the other issue that is, I think, is very important, that was glossed over, and that has been glossed over, not just in Illinois but around the country.
Right.
As we've had this conversation, we've had 2 to 3 generations of African American families destroyed by the war on drugs, and there's no really definitive reparation element in the legalization process.
Okay.
I mean, what are we going to do to repair these communities, and what has been done to them? Because most of us know that even when it was illegal, just the same as cocaine versus crack, the way the law is administered has been uneven and unjust.
Okay.
So what are we going to do to correct the way the system has damaged black people, people in the inner city, by the way we've enforced the drug law?
Well, Doc, I'm going to talk now. Now that issue, I do have my opinions on it, and I try to, keep my opinions open to those who have an opinion. But I'm kind of strong in my opinion on that, and I try to educate the young folks to be more aware of what's going on and what's being said, because there's a lot of stuff being sold in our neighborhoods that's not sold everywhere.
Right.
Particularly, there's this trend out, Doc, of what's called Four Loko.
What is that?
Four Loko is a flavored beer.
Okay.
It's like a 211. It's high octane beer. It's marketed and sold.
It's like malt liquor used to be for black.
But it's flavored now. It's marketed and sold like Arizona. The can of Arizona.
I didn't know that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's marketed and sold in the flavors and the decoration.
Which appeals to a younger
That's what it's
market,
for.
obviously.
That's what it's for.
Yeah.
And then the young
Because
folks.
a grown man don't want flavored beer.
Well,
Necessarily,
come on,
right. Just
come on.
drinking his beer.
If they're gonna do it, they're gonna do it like they do it.
Right.
Regular beer.
Right.
But this is flavor.
That's marketed toward a younger.
It is marketed.
And that's tragic.
So, and we're gonna be doing an event with a day with the commanders on August the 1st. You have been so nice to allow us to plan in the conference room this event.
Great.
We're gonna have the 11th, 15th, and 25th districts all working together.
And that's excellent.
And we're going to be training folks, Doc, and educating folks on the use of anaxolone and how to administer syringes to save folks from ODing. We just had 17, 5 died, over here on Chicago Avenue. So on August the 1st, it would be the 11th, 15th, and 25th districts, day with the commanders and social service agencies and vendors, resources, music, the works, entertainment, the
At
works.
1856 North LeClaire.
Yes, sir.
That's a blessing.
At Grace and Peace Church.
Amen.
And that's Pastor,
That's a
Pastor
blessing.
John. So we all coming together. We're coming
Yes.
together to do something to empower the people. And we're encouraging you to come out, bring your resources, bring the young people. Let's educate, let's empower, let's love each other. Caller, you on air, please. Do we have a caller? Okay, thank you anyway. Let us know when the call come back. Okay, Doc. Who was that? Anyway, Doc, what does Sankofa mean, and what does Ma'afa mean? I got to go there.
Yeah, great.
I got to go.
So, call us back if you want to take that, and then I can...
Caller, come on through. We got a couple of questions that we're trying to...
Can you hear me?
Hello?
My name is James. When you said don't be pointing fingers, but Lightfoot and them and Eddie John them pointing fingers about all the shooting, about the gangbangers. They the one probably behind all that. Why you think the media come in there and they blame neighborhood?
Okay. Did you hear him?
Okay, yeah.
Thank you so much, James.
Thank you, James. Yeah, so Sankofa means, in order to move forward, you have to look back, or you have to go back and reclaim what's been lost.
Yeah.
And so it's a Ghanaian concept
Right.
that you must go back in order to move forward, or you must reclaim what was lost. And I think all of us know
So is
that we've
okay,
lost a
talk
lot.
about like our values?
The values,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
So,
I
yeah.
mean, even here in Chicago,
Yeah.
some of us remember. Man, I remember people sleeping outside in the summertime when
Yeah.
it was hot because
Leaving
very
doors
few
open.
people had. Always. In the
Yeah.
projects,
Yeah,
you
in the
went
project.
into the house
Yeah.
and asked, "Was Sammy here home?"
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, without
and without knocking, because everybody was upstairs. Oh, he not here, Hatch.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and then when people moved in the neighborhood, everybody brought them food. It was a neighborliness that was right here in Chicago. Same people. Obviously, we've lost something.
So Sankofa mean to go back and fetch it.
Go back and fetch it. Go
And-
back and reclaim
it's
what's
the-
been lost.
It's
to
the
move
symbol
forward.
of the bird with the head turned backwards.
with the head turned backwards, with the neck that's looking back
Okay, and going forward.
to go and going.
So,
forward.
and that's the history of.
Sankofa.
Okay, and that's the Ghanaian
That's what
history
we-
of our people.
That's right. That's
Okay.
an African concept.
Okay.
A Khan language.
We got another caller. Caller, you in there? Please hurry up because we got another question we need to get to.
Yes.
Come on, caller.
Hello?
Yes.
And I will make sure we get to that.
What is the pastor's opinion about the legalization of marijuana? Do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, thank you for tuning in and thank you for that question.
Yeah, I mean, I think that marijuana should have been decriminalized, not necessarily legalized,
Okay.
because we've been working with young people and trying to get them to, clean and not smoke marijuana regularly. And so it really kind of sets back that argument, because you can even though it's legal, you can still be restricted from a job.
Absolutely.
Because
for
the job in your system.
Absolutely, and they're going to test you for it.
And they're going to test.
Get that next caller before you hit the what is Maafa?
Ma'afa means the great calamity, the great catastrophe, and it has to do this year, 2019 in August is exactly 400 years from the time that the first slave ship arrived in Jamestown, Virginia, with 20 captured Africans. And then so over 240 years, millions of Africans were brought. The average age of the captured African was 13 to 15 years old. So what we call the slave trade was really the trafficking of children.
Okay.
So what we're seeing at the border is almost the American way. America was
right.
built on this kind of exploitation of
Which
children.
is what's happening now.
Which is what's happening now. It shows you how.
So wake up.
Wake up.
All right.
And so, this year, for the exactly 400th anniversary, which is the weekend of August the 24th and 25th, we'll have Dr. Cornel West in town. He'll be keynoting at New Mount Pilgrim at 10 o'clock on that fourth Sunday in August as we commemorate and talk about the work that has been done to recover, to resist, and to repair African people in America.
Let's go with another caller, Doc. It seems like they're ready to talk. Come on, caller.
Yes.
Come with a question.
Thank you so much, but I would like to say, this is Miss Griffin. I would like to say to both of you all, the next time I see you all together and hear you all together, I want you to discuss why so many of our African-American families and children are leaving the city.
Well, there you have it. You got the question. That was your question. Thank you, Miss Griffin. We
great
love you so
question.
much, Miss Griffin. Keep doing the good work you're doing with the folks on the South Side and acknowledging the young folks, and keep on praying for us. You got it, Doc. What's your
It's a great question. There's been an exodus out of Chicago that's going to be one of the great tragedies in the history of this city. The city where, gospel was born, where the blues had a home, where our people came looking for the promised land, and then our communities were systematically destabilized. It's been a tremendous tragedy. And that's what the violence narrative has done in our community. I mean, those of us who pastor churches, we're going to see fewer people, and we're seeing fewer people because there are fewer people in the community.
And you see why.
all you hear is, "I'm getting out of Chicago."
Well, and rightly, and I'm not condoning what Listen, I believe folks are entitled to live their best lives however they feel they need to live their
Yeah.
best lives. And if they feel that they're, that they can't afford, or that the conditions in a certain place is not conducive for them and their children, then folks should do what's best for their families.
But we've been disinvested in. These
Okay,
conditions,
there you go. That's
didn't
another
just
story
happen.
now.
They've been created
By design.
by design.
So are you implying
And the tragedy is that while we're talking about we're getting out of Chicago, the international headquarters for McDonald's has moved in on the west side.
And Boeing.
And Boeing. And Accenture.
On the west side.
On the west side.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the wealth that's here is, I mean, the tragedy is that, I think it's been a conspiracy to move us out. I did, when Chris Kennedy said it, all Hades broke loose on him, but I think he was right.
You're watching Fathers Who Can. Thank you so much. I
Gotta
definitely
fight back though.
We got to. And I want to thank Marshall Hatch for, of course, Pastor Marshall Hatch, my pastor, for the work that he's doing, for his passion and his commitment to change, social change that is. And I want to encourage you to be the best leaders that you can be in you. Next question is a brief question because we're out of time. Who is the Leaders Network?
The Leaders Network is a coalition of about 30 organizations on the west side of Chicago, social justice, advocating for those who are voiceless. It's our social justice organization based on the west side that has a global impact.
And meets every second Tuesday of the month.
And we'll come back maybe next time and
We'll
talk
do that.
about what we did for medical debt recently. We
That
purchased
was something else.
in order to
Say
forgive
it.
it.
So listen, we got about 20 seconds. So listen, I want to thank you all, but we're going to come back, and if you want additional information about the cancellation of medical debt, that's something we was talking about at the Leaders Network meeting.
That's
But
right.
listen, give us a call back at Fathers Who Care 773-287-5821. Log on to the Leaders Network, and listen, stay blessed. Continue to do the good work. Be a blessing to someone. Look, wrap your arms around these young people this summer and make a difference. God bless you.
So
Good night.
much to talk about, so little time.
Listen, thank you so much. Thank you, Doc. We'll see you all on the other side. God bless
Peace.
you. Peace out.